Hi Year 4, welcome to today's maths lesson. In today's lesson we are going to be looking at two important terms, factors and multiples. These are really important when we look at our multiplication and our division problems. Okay, let's have a first look at factors. What are factors? Okay, now a factor is a number that when multiplied with another number produces a given number. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples and then we're going to work through them. So for the factor, I'm going to write the number 12 here. Okay. Now the number 12 is our magic number. We need to find two numbers that when we times them together or multiply them together, the answer will be 12. Okay, so think about all of your times tables that you know, all the way from your 1s to your 12s, and think about what two numbers when multiplied together will give you the answer of 12. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about two numbers. All right, your most simple one that every single number will be able to be multiplied by is 1. Okay, so we can draw around our magic number 12, the number 1, because 1 times 12 equals 12. So I just said another one there, 12. Okay, so we can have 1 times 12 equals 12. Or if we flip it around and do the commutative property of this number, okay, we can also do 12 times 1 equals 12. Okay, we don't need to write 1 and 12 and then 12 and 1 around here. We just need to write the number once. Okay, so we write the number 1 and we also write the number 12. Okay, can you think of any two other numbers that multiply together to give you 12? Okay, I can think of another one. What about 2 and 6? 2 times 6 or 6 times 2. Okay, so I'll write a 2 and I'll do a 6. Okay, and I'll write them here. 2 times 6 equals 12. Okay, and 6 times 2 equals 12. Okay, no matter which way we write that, we flip it around, the answer will still stay the same, just as we look like with our arrays the other day. All right, I can also think of one more. We can do 3 and 4. 3 times 4 or 4 times 3 equals 12. Okay, so we have quite a few here. If you have a look around our 12 here, we have 6 numbers that are the factors of 12. Okay, so all of these numbers here can be times together, okay, in these combinations to give you 12, okay, our multiple. All right, now, when we're looking at factors, okay, if a multiple, has more than 2 factors, so more than 2 numbers that multiply together, then that is what we call a composite number. Okay, now you don't need to know prime and composite until you get to year 5, but I always like to introduce it now just for those people who can retain that knowledge, that if a number has more than 2 factors, okay, normally 1 and itself, it is a composite number. Okay, if there is a number, which I'll give you an example in a moment, that only can be times by 1 and itself, okay, then that is what we call a prime number. Okay, that can only be times by 2 numbers. For example, think about the number 3. Okay, think about the multiple 3. Now 3, think about your times tables, which numbers can be times together to give you 3. Okay, I can only think of 2 factors. Okay, I can think of 1 and I can think of 3 because 1 times 3 equals 3, okay, and 3 times 1 equals 3. But still again, okay, that's only 2 numbers. So 3 is an example of what we call a prime number. It can only be divided by itself and 1, okay? Whereas 12, on the other hand, as you saw, it had 6 factors. That is what we call a composite number. Okay, and there's lots of examples of prime numbers and there's lots of examples of composite numbers. Okay, so let me give you some more examples here. What about the number 15? Think about any numbers that can be times together to give you 15. Okay, or that 15 can be divided into. Okay, think about that one. All right, so like with every single number, we can at least have 2. Okay, so we can have 1 and we can also have 15. Okay, because 1 times 15 equals 15 and 15 times 1 equals 15. But still again, that 1 and that 15. So we've got 2. Any other times table you can think of that we can times together to give you 15? okay, or divide 15 by. All right, if you're thinking about your 5 times tables, what about 5, 10, 15? 5 times 3. So we also have 5 and we also have 3. Okay, so 5 times 3 equals 15. 3 times 5 equals 15. So as you can see with the number 15, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 numbers, okay, that we can multiply to get 15. So would that be a prime number or a composite number? Remember, prime only has 2 factors, itself and 1. A composite has 3 or more. Okay, so 15 would be an example of a composite number. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. All right, let's jump down to multiples. Okay, now multiples, basically, I like to think of them as when we learn our times tables, sometimes we like to skip count. Okay, so when we learn our 2s, we might go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. Okay, all those numbers that are the sum of 2 factors being times together is what we call our multiple. Okay, so say we had 2 times 1. Okay, so I'm just going to put the video down here. 2 times 1. Okay, this number here and this number here, okay, if you're listening just before, these are my factors. Okay, your answer, okay, what the total of these 2 numbers, what the total is together when you do times them, is our multiple. Okay, so the multiplication or multiple of 2 times 1 is 2. And if I kept going and did 2 times 2 equals 4, okay, that is my second multiple of 2. Okay, 2 times 3, these 2 factors equal your multiple of 6. Okay, so you might get a question in today's activities where I give you a example of, let's see, 16. Okay, now when we're counting, that's our multiple of 16. Now try and think about 2 factors, okay, that can be times together to give you this multiple. Think about some numbers that can be times together, our factors, to give us this multiple of 16. Okay, well, the first one that comes to mind for me is 4 times 4. Okay, so 4 would be a factor, okay, to give you this multiple of 16. All right, what about 2 and 8? Okay, 2 times 8 equals 16. Okay, so 2 and 8 would be factors, okay, that give you the multiple of 16. All right, so often we will use these in maths. We will talk about counting by multiples of a certain number. Okay, so if Miss Morley asks you to count by multiples of 3, then that means to count by your 3 times tables because you're giving me the sum of the different factors. Okay, so instead of saying 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, okay, often we just go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 and keep going like that. We jump up in our multiples. Okay, so have a practice of the activities today. Remember, if you can also label your factors of whether they're a prime number or a composite number. Now, Miss Morley has this little thing in her head that she remembers the word prime, P-R-I-M-E, is a 5-letter word. Okay, where the composite number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a 9-letter word. So the composite word is a bigger word. So Miss Morley likes to think of prime, the smaller one, can only have itself and 1. It has a smaller amount of factors that it can be divided by, where composite is the larger word, so it can have more factors. Okay, so that's how I like to know the difference between prime and composite. Okay, I just like to remember like that. Prime's a smaller word, so smaller amount of factors. Composite's the larger word, so it's 3 or more, the more of the factors. Okay, so hopefully that helps you with your activities today, Year 4. Okay, factors and multiples, they're really, really important in our multiplication and division. And it's also very important that you know your times tables. If you get stuck on some examples today, okay, you really need to go back and practice your times tables. Those warm-up activities, okay, drills and games to practice those times tables this week are really important. Have a great day, Year 4.